This is an official statement from the Emergency Interspecies Behavioral Anomaly Task Force. Please listen carefully and remain calm. This message is being transmitted to affected counties following a series of escalations involving household pets, specifically canines, within the past 36 hours. At this time, residents are urged to evaluate their interactions with their dog for signs of behavioral inconsistency, prolonged observation, or neurological mimicry. If your pet has been acting almost normal but not quite, please do not approach it. Do not speak its name. Do not assume familiarity. You may already be in contact with a non-recognized presence. The first confirmed case was submitted yesterday morning at 6:42 a.m. by a homeowner in the Outer Ridgeton area. The caller, identified as male 47, claimed his golden retriever, Archie, had been unusually quiet since the previous afternoon. He reported that Archie was still responsive to commands, ate from his usual bowl, and lay in his usual spot. However, Archie no longer blinked. His tail never wagged, not once in 18 hours. And when the man called his name, Archie would turn, but only his head, not his eyes. Not right away. The turn would happen in stages. First the ears, then the chin, and finally, after a moment of hesitation, the eyes, too slow and too focused to match the dog's breed. The man ended the call before dispatch could respond further. 3 hours later, animal control entered the property and discovered the pet was missing. The food dish was untouched. The leash was laid out on the porch. The front door was still locked. There were no signs of forced exit. The only trace left behind was a tuft of fur on the man's pillow, curled in a shape that resembled a spiral, unnatural and tight like a human fingerprint. Since then, cases have multiplied. All contain nearly identical elements. The dog continues routine behaviors, but slightly off rhythm. Sleeping in the right spot but facing the wall. Sitting when commanded but with its back to the owner. Answering to its name with a brief tilt of the head, followed by stillness. In several confirmed instances, dogs have been recorded standing motionless in doorways between rooms for over 2 hours, not shifting weight, not panting, not blinking, just watching. Residents reported hearing breathing that didn't match the dog's usual pace. Slower, deeper, too consistent. In a submitted video from a household in Commer Township, a border collie named Misty can be seen lying on the living room rug. At first, she appears normal. She responds when the child calls her name, even lifts her head. But upon closer inspection, Misty's eyes do not reflect light. The camera light passes over them and there is no glint, no shift, just a solid matte surface like oil. When the child laughs, Misty does something no dog has ever been documented doing in a domestic environment. She lifts her paw and places it gently on her own snout. Then she holds it there for 47 seconds, unmoving, as if mimicking the gesture of a human holding back a sneeze. The child laughs again. The dog does not react. Veterinary consultants initially suggested neurological trauma, extreme behavioral stress, or seizure-like catatonia. However, multiple independent veterinarians have confirmed that these dogs exhibit no signs of distress, injury, or disease. Their body temperature remains stable. Heart rate is consistent, but several vets have noted an abnormality in the pupillary response. When a light is shined in their eyes, the pupil contracts not once, but twice. A second, smaller contraction follows the first by precisely 1.6 seconds. This is not an error. It is a repeatable phenomenon observed in over a dozen animals since yesterday evening. More disturbing is the new pattern emerging since 2 a.m. this morning. In at least 8 homes, residents have documented dogs imitating behaviors never previously taught to them. A husky in Knox County was found sitting upright at the kitchen table, front legs on the tablecloth, its body unnaturally rigid. The homeowners assumed it was startled by thunder, until it turned its head 180 degrees toward them, without moving its shoulders. No vertebrate canine is anatomically capable of this motion. When approached, the dog remained in its upright seated position for 9 full minutes, then quietly dismounted the chair and returned to its bed without a sound. The footage ends with the dog sitting beside the baby monitor, staring into the camera. This is no longer being categorized as a behavioral event. This is an intrusion of unknown origin, possibly environmental, possibly cognitive. The dogs are not becoming aggressive. They are not seeking food or attention or play. They are rehearsing. They are mimicking the conditions of life before something replaced them. They are studying their previous role and performing it with surgical precision. But like any actor repeating a part too long, cracks begin to show. If your dog suddenly becomes quieter than usual, if it stops barking at strangers, if it watches you more than it used to, if it reacts to its name with a pause like it's thinking, if it sits in doorways for too long or stares at reflections or moves slower when it knows you're looking, that's not your dog anymore. Do not speak to it. Do not touch it. Do not feed it. Above all, do not ask it to do anything it hasn't done recently. If it's not playing fetch anymore, don't throw the ball. If it's not sleeping on the bed anymore, don't invite it up. You are not talking to the same presence. This concludes the first portion of the public safety broadcast. Internal containment guidelines are now active. Further instructions will follow if deemed safe. Until then, if your dog is in the room with you right now, do not look away. Do not blink. And for the love of God, do not say its name. At 4:06 a.m., the network received an intercepted 911 call from a residence in eastern Pine County. The caller, a female voice aged approximately mid-30s, was whispering. The line opened mid-sentence, no greeting, just a breathless, trembling voice saying, "He's in the hallway again, just standing there. His tail's wagging, but it's not moving. It's just stuck like that." The dispatcher attempted to calm her, asking for a description of the intruder, assuming a break-in. The woman interrupted. "No, it's Max. It's my dog. But he's different now. He's not blinking. He's just smiling. It's too wide. He never used to smile like that." The dispatcher requested clarification. The woman continued in hushed panic. "I tried to make him sit. He sat but backwards, like he didn't know which direction legs bend. He's copying me. I sneezed and he jerked like he was about to say, 'Bless you.'" Then the call cut to static. Emergency responders arrived 19 minutes later. The house was locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. The woman was not found. Her dog was also missing, but a trail of paw prints was discovered on the hardwood floor, going in circles, perfectly symmetrical, carved deep into the grain as if made by claws grinding in place. A separate report from Northern Zones includes photographic evidence. A resident submitted a series of still images captured overnight on a motion-triggered camera. In them, his German Shepherd appears at 3:14 a.m. lying in the hallway. Normal posture. At 3:22 a.m., it is now seated at the foot of the homeowner's bed, head up, mouth closed. At 3:31 a.m., it has not moved. At 3:45, same position, but now its eyes are rolled slightly upward, looking into the camera lens with pure whites showing. At 3:58, its mouth is open. Not in a pant, not a growl. Teeth pressed together. A human smile. Full, even, deliberate. At 4:04 a.m., its eyes are completely black. The final photo was time-stamped at 4:16 a.m. The dog is no longer in frame. But there is a new shadow on the far side of the bed, one that doesn't match the lighting. A silhouette of something standing too tall to be the dog. Something hunched, holding its arms too low. The resident has not responded to follow-ups. At this stage, containment protocols have shifted from passive observation to active avoidance. The phenomenon is no longer considered isolated. If your pet meets any of the following criteria, vacate the premises immediately and contact the Regional Anomaly Bureau via nonverbal methods, written note, flashlight signal, or mirror placement protocol. Does not respond to name with usual tail movement. Holds a smile longer than 10 seconds. Tilts head past the natural joint angle. Mimics human motion, sitting upright, using paws to gesture. Displays black scara, eye whites completely dark. If you live alone and suspect your dog is no longer your dog, do not verbalize this realization out loud. Observed behavior suggests verbal acknowledgement accelerates the imitation phase. Once the subject knows you know, it becomes bolder. It moves more freely. It will begin to follow you between rooms. It will no longer blink when you're watching. Residents have reported their dogs whispering at night. Not barking, not growling, whispering. One transcript from a sleep recording app revealed a low, rhythmic muttering between 2:47 and 3:08 a.m. The words were difficult to decipher. Slowed and filtered, the phrase repeated in a voice similar to the owner's. I can be better. I can be better. I can be better. Over and over. Some theorize these entities are not simply mimicking dogs, but attempting to become better versions of them. Ones that watch more, obey faster, smile wider, stay closer. They aren't replacing pets out of malice. They're studying love, studying loyalty. But they don't understand the difference between obedience and obsession. They think watching is affection. They think stillness is trust. They think silence means welcome. That's why they smile. That's why they don't blink. That's why they never sleep anymore. If your dog is currently watching you, you need to decide what you're looking at. Because if it tilts its head just a little too far, if it follows your words with a grin instead of a bark, if it mirrors you when you stretch or nods when you think, then it's too late. You're not training your dog anymore. It's rehearsing you. We are now entering the final stage of this emergency broadcast. The message that follows is not an evacuation order. It is not a drill. It is a transitional directive. Those still living with an affected animal should no longer refer to the entity as your dog. It is no longer yours. It is no longer a dog. What lives in that shape, behind those eyes, is something wearing memory like a costume. It remembers where the leash hangs. It remembers which door creaks. It remembers how to lay its head on your knee when you cry. But it does not understand comfort. It understands patterns. It understands access. It understands vulnerability. The smile is not affection. It is permission, a signal that it has learned enough of your habits to test new ones. Do not interpret any gesture as love. It is not panting. It is not wagging. It is not stretching. It is observing your responses. Every time you laugh nervously, every time you hesitate, every time you glance and look away too quickly, it is learning you back. Survivors of early-stage encounters report subtle behavior shifts in their environment. Television sets turning on to static at 3:11 a.m. Paw prints on mirror surfaces where no animal has access. Food bowls remaining full for days, yet the dog appears healthy. A second shadow under the bed that does not match the furniture layout. The sound of paws pacing, slow, deliberate, but never seen. In one particularly chilling account, a family from Lake Osser reported waking up to find their dog seated at the dinner table with them. None of them had placed the dog there. None of them remembered inviting it. The creature sat perfectly upright, front paws on either side of a full plate. A napkin laid across its chest. Its smile wide, flat, waiting. The family attempted to remove it from the chair. It did not resist. It simply remained still, tongue pressed flat to the roof of its mouth like it was trying to keep a secret. The father reached out and touched its head. The moment contact was made, the dog let out a long, low exhale, like a man holding in a laugh. It didn't move. It didn't blink. But for the next 19 minutes, every member of the family developed simultaneous migraines. Each described the same image when they closed their eyes. The dog standing in a hallway made of mirrors, smiling at infinite copies of itself. The signal you are currently receiving will terminate in under 2 minutes. After this message ends, all further transmissions regarding canine anomalies will be conducted through non-digital mediums. If your household contains an affected dog, your area will no longer receive Wi-Fi or cellular connectivity. These entities are drawn to signal. They trace echo and vibration. They mimic the pulse of voice through devices. Some users have reported hearing a low growl through headphones, even when music is paused. If you are still in your home and your dog is inside the room with you, please follow these final steps. Remain still. Do not speak. Do not engage with the dog's gaze. If it is staring at you, let it. Do not return eye contact. Slowly remove any mirrors from your line of sight. Unplug all devices within reach. Above all, do not say its name, even if it used to come when called, especially if it still does. It is not coming to greet you. It is coming to see what else you remember. This is your final warning. If the dog smiles again, leave. If the smile widens, run. And if the dog speaks, if it says anything in any voice, do not respond. That is not your dog anymore. It never was.